Hi, I'm Phil Goss with Poland Daily. We're here at the Royal Castle in Warsaw today to talk to the historian and the curator, both responsible for the exhibit Znaki Wolności, or Signs of Freedom. We'll continue our talks about Polish history with Professor Krzysztof Jabłonka. So tell us, how did Poland come about with its independence after World War I?
Bezpośrednio jeszcze w trakcie I wojny światowej
The first independent national councils were formed during the First World War. They were gatherings from former Austro-Hungarian empire lands. That's where the movement of liberating Polish territory began.
I od nich zaczął się ruch wyzwalania terytorium polskiego.
First place to be liberated was Podgórze, a district of Krakow, where Polish flags flew on October 30th, 1918.
30 października 1918 roku.
The following day, on October 31st, Krakow was liberated, where for the first time the hymn Mariacki, St. Mary's trumpet call, was played from St. Mary's Church in the main square in Krakow.
Mariackiego na rynku krakowskim. Wreszcie w ciągu całego dnia
Throughout the rest of that day, up until the beginning of November, the whole of Galicia was liberated. It was a liberation without bloodshed, because to some extent the Poles had a friendship with the Austrians, and it was explained to them that there was no point dying right before the end of the war, when the Poles were the majority anyway. In most cases, the Austrians understood this and left. Things were more difficult in the German partition, where certain German legions tried to resist, although the revolution that began in Germany made things a lot easier. Piłsudski was released from prison on November 10th.
10 listopada wypuszczono Piłsudskiego z więzienia. Przybył on o 7:30.
He arrived in Warsaw at 7:30, and there was an almost immediate uprising without bloodshed that historians refer to as the Little Warsaw Uprising. Why? Because it took place so a big one could be avoided. By the next day, a deal was made with German soldiers that if they hand over their weapons, they would be sent back to Vaterland, Germany, and that is what happened.
Vaterlandu, czyli Niemiec. I tak rzeczywiście się działo. 11 listopada wyzwolona została Warszawa.
Warsaw was liberated on November 11th. An arrangement was made with Germany to end armed operations. And finally, that same day and the evening, all the authorities in areas of Galicia and the German occupation, known as the Polish Kingdom, subordinated themselves to Józef Piłsudski, and he had supreme rule over the Polish army. This day is known as the Polish Day of Independence.
How did Poland defend its borders at this time?
Niemal natychmiast zaczęły się walki o granice.
Almost immediately there were battles for borders. The first place to have clashes was Lwów, where the outgoing Austrians, attempting to stir up tensions between the Poles and Ukrainians, relinquished power to the Ukrainians. They benefited from this and occupied the city of Lwów. Since 80% of the people who lived there were Poles, they began what is known as the Lwów Uprising. The rest of the Polish lands moved to help, in what is known as succor.
A następnie z Warszawy docierając 20.
Succors arrived from Krakow and Warsaw and liberated Lwów on November 20th. It was a difficult experience, as there were battles on the streets. Another battle that occurred was the Wielkopolska Uprising against the Germans, provoked by the Germans on December 27th, 1918, when a world-famous Polish composer, Ignacy Jan Paderewski, arrived together with a mostly British Allied delegation.
Ignacy Jan Paderewski. W dniu 27 grudnia przypadał
December 27th was a day intended for children, and children greeted the great composer in Poznań. During this celebration, a shot was fired. To this day, nobody knows by whom, and the Poles immediately began to fight, disarming the Germans on German partition territory. This is how Wielkopolska was liberated.
Wielkopolska została wyzwolona, a powstanie wielkopolskie kosztowało nas 2000 poległych.
The Wielkopolska uprising cost Poland 2,000 people. A third moment of clashes took place when Polish armies went east and ran into a Bolshevik army from Soviet Russia, where in February and March of 1919 the third epic battle ensued.
Trzecia epopeja zbrojna. Przy okazji miał miejsce mały konflikt z Czechami.
There was also a minor conflict with the Czechs over the Czech Silesia, appeased very quickly, and later a conflict would occur with the Lithuanians over Vilnius. But in the meantime, Poland has three opponents. There is a major war with Bolshevik Russia the following year, on July 4th, 1920. Powerful Soviet tanks drove into Polish territory and reached Warsaw.
Potężne pociągi sowieckie wjechały w teren Polski i dotarły aż pod Warszawę.
Thank you for that, Dr. Jabłonka. Here at the Royal Palace in Warsaw, an exhibition named Signs of Freedom has been put on display, showing the Polish struggle for freedom between the First World War and the fall of communism in Poland. We will talk to exhibition curator Professor Łukasz Krzysztof about the period immediately following the end of the First World War, when Poland found itself in a situation where it was forced to defend its contested borders. Continue our talk about the exhibit in the Royal Castle. We're sitting here today with Łukasz Krzysztof, curator of this large exhibit. Dr. Krzysztof, tell us, there's a famous painting here called Miracle on the Vistula from 1920, or depicting something in 1920. Tell us about that particular piece, please.
To obraz słynnego polskiego malarza Wojciecha Kossaka, który...
It's a picture by a famous Polish painter, Wojciech Kossak, who painted this great battle, a very important battle in European history. At the time, the Polish army stopped communism from spreading to the west. The Red Army wanted to take Berlin, Paris and so on. The onslaught was halted in Warsaw.
Paryż i tak dalej. Ta nawała stanęła na Warszawie. Stąd między innymi...
This is where the name Miracle on the Vistula comes from, because something happened that wasn't supposed to. We won.
Na wystawie organizujemy tą przestrzeń w ten właśnie sposób, że kojarzymy dwa obrazy.
In the exhibit we place two paintings beside each other, Batory at Pskov by Jan Matejko and the aforementioned painting by Wojciech Kossak, Miracle on the Vistula.
Dlaczego akurat te dwa obrazy?
Why these two paintings? Because they present the triumph of the Polish forces over Russia, and this triumph repeats itself in 1920. That's the first reason.
Stąd ta zależność, stąd ta przestrzeń tak, a nie inaczej zorganizowana. To po pierwsze. Po drugie jest też ścieżka dźwiękowa w tej...
Secondly, we play a quite peculiar soundtrack at one point of the exhibition.
Ta bitwa została wygrana między innymi dlatego...
The battle was won, among others, because Polish cryptologists cracked the Russian codes. Lieutenant Colonel Kowalewski, a very intelligent leader, figured out the codes, so colloquially speaking, we had all the Russian secret codes handed to us on a plate.
Dowódca rozszyfrował te szyfry.
Hence, why in the background of this part of the exhibit, you can hear sounds from the battle.
Stąd w tle tej części wystawy pojawiają się odgłosy bitwy.
Sounds from the code-breaking machines, and perhaps to be a little humorous and a little malicious, the Polish cryptologists decided to drown out the Russian messages with the Gospel according to Saint John, read by our narrators.
Tego Jana czytaną przez naszych lektorów.
Dr. Krzysztof, tell us about the symbolism in these paintings.
The symbolism of the Miracle on the Vistula painting is quite straightforward. It's a picture painted with traditional symbolism in which allegories are used. An icon of the Virgin Mary appears above the Polish armies as they go forth. She appears as the Queen of Poland and leads them to victory. There's the layer of symbolism in this painting. There is also the character of the priest, Father Skorupka, who leads the counterattack. He is a historic character who died during this moment.
Skorupki, który prowadzi ten kontratak, i to już jest postać historyczna. Ksiądz Skorupka zginął właśnie w tym momencie. Jeszcze kwestia...
There is also the aspect of the title of the painting, which can be interpreted in different ways.
Po pierwsze,
it can cause dispute that it wasn't the might of the Polish forces or the great leadership of Józef Piłsudski, but help from above that led to this victory.
Jakieś siły nieba doprowadziły do tego.
This interpretation diminishes the role of the Polish armed forces. It seems like a misunderstanding.
To w pewnym sensie nieporozumienie. A druga interpretacja,
The second interpretation by historians is that it's the first time we get cooperation between all the classes in Poland, and that in the miracle of the Vistula, the peasants play a very important role in the defense of Warsaw. The divisions between classes are forgotten for the first time in hundreds of years.
zostają właśnie wtedy po raz pierwszy od setek lat zakopane czy zapomniane.
Thank you, Dr. Krzysztofski. We've seen some of how Poland has struggled for freedom in the 20th century. Join us next time here at Poland Daily. I'm Phil Goss.